Before we start today's episode, I want to quickly share something I've been working on. It's called the consistency reset, and I created it for women who are tired of starting over with diets, workouts, and healthy habits. Because most women don't fail because they lack motivation. They struggle because the plan is too strict, too complicated, or simply doesn't fit real life. Inside the consistency reset, you start with the short quits, and then you get the personalized plan with simple daily actions, realistic strength workouts, practical nutrition habits, and reset tools for the days when life gets busy. So if you miss a workout, overeat, have a stressful weekend, or feel like you are falling off track, the goal is not to start over again. The goal is to take next small step and keep going. If that sounds like what you need right now, you can take the quiz and build your personalized plan through the link in the show notes. But now, let's get into today's episode. So today's conversation is something about many women know very well. Standing in the kitchen, opening the pantry, putting your hand in the chip bag, not because you are really hungry, but because you are tired, overwhelmed, emotionally full, maybe even a little disconnected from yourself. And then later you blame yourself. You say, why do I have no willpower? Why can't I control myself? Why do I keep doing this? But what if emotional eating is not the real problem? What if it's a signal that you have been putting yourself last for too long, a signal that you are tired of carrying everything, a signal that food has become the easiest place to disappear for a moment. That's why I'm excited for today's guest, Sara Stansberry. Sara is a writer, life coach, and the founder of How to Blow Up Your Life. Her work focuses on helping women understand the emotional patterns underneath their behavior, especially people pleasing, self-abandonment, and the deeper stories like that keep smart, capable women stuck. Sara also brings her own story into this conversation. At one point, she found herself 52 pounds overweight with 3 babies, a life that looked fine from the outside, and a daily habit of standing in the pantry with her hand in the chip bag when she felt overwhelmed. Over time, through deeper emotional work, walking, running, strength training, and rebuilding self-trust, she found her way back to herself. In this episode, we talk about emotional eating, self-abandonment, people-pleasing, what it looks like when women put everyone else first, and how to start coming back to yourself one step at a time. So if you have ever felt food is where you go when you are overwhelmed, this conversation is for you. So let's get into it. So, Sara, before we going into the deeper topic, first of all, I'm so excited to hear your story, learn from you. But so, could you share a little bit about who you are and what led you to this work?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Toro, for having me on the show. I love your podcast and I love the work that you do around fitness. I think it's so important um, that we put our bodies as a priority, and especially as women, as busy and sometimes overburdened women, we put ourselves last, which is the place where I found myself all of those years ago, probably almost 20 years ago now, when I was much younger. And like you said in the intro, had 3 babies and a life that looked fantastic on the outside and virtually no coping skills
Mm,
for my emotional patterns, the emotional eating. Um, of course, the pregnancies, combined with the emotional eating caused the weight gain, and also, not understanding that I needed to prioritize myself, or even at that point, that was even an option for me. I was putting everybody else's needs before my own. And honestly, I didn't really think it was okay to even have needs or make a plan in my day to prioritize exercise, to prioritize eating well. I was too busy, getting the mac and cheese ready for the kids and, whatever
Mm,
else you do for that. So, I really, it, I can remember kind of coming out of a daze one night. And I feel like this is awareness, right? Is really the first step in making any real change in your life, right? So, I can remember kind of waking up emotionally. It was like
mm,
9 or 10 o'clock at night, standing in the pantry. And I think I'd maybe been there for maybe 10, 15 minutes. I don't know how long I'd been there. Maybe it was 2 minutes, maybe who knows, but
mm,
just standing there with my hand in the chip bag, thinking, how long have I been standing here? And
mm,
why am I standing here, like doing this, And of course, I was I was so overwhelmed. Um, I I didn't I wasn't connected to myself fully. I didn't understand um, any kind of need that I might have. I was even unaware that I even had any needs. And what I learned after I began evaluating, just kind of maybe getting curious as to, wonder why I'm doing this. Like, what's
mm,
really going on here? Um, of course, when I pulled those threads out a little bit and started doing the more difficult work of what was driving my behavior, I realized what I was doing was really numbing, right? We numb
mm.
with so many different agents. Food is a very, very easy one. Food is easy because you eat it, you do it every day. You have to eat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, because you said in I was reading your articles and you said in some of them that you wasn't that you said that I wasn't hungry, I was disappearing. What did
Yes.
you mean by that?
Mm, right. So it's a part of like the numbing and self-abandonment piece. I felt so uncomfortable in my body. I didn't like the way I was feeling. Does that make sense?
Mm, yeah.
I didn't like the way I was feeling. At that point in my life, I was giving my agency over um, to everyone and everything. And if you read my work and know my story and go back, like
Mm,
at that point, I was in a very unhealthy marriage. I had a lot of unhealthy relationships in my life. I had a lot of relationships that required me to abandon myself in order
mm,
to be and remain in that relationship, including, core relationships in my life. And so what ends up happening when you're in a situation like that, um, and you feel almost like you're trapped, if that makes sense,
yeah, absolutely.
um, because you don't want to not be in these relationships because the way you've been conditioned your whole life is that these relationships are primary, they're the most important. You should be a good wife, you should be a good mother, you should be a good daughter, you should be a good friend.
Mm,
And whatever good looks like to you, um, you either play into the conditioning that you were raised in, or that you understood from your family or your society or your community or whatever.
mm,
um, but you're not being true to yourself. And so when I say I was disappearing, I used food basically to, so because there was a conflict going on inside of me,
mm,
if that makes sense. There
yeah,
was a
absolutely.
conflict. There was how I really felt and how I thought I was supposed to feel,
Mm,
and then the guilt and the shame that went in between
exactly.
those two, so that I didn't have to feel that guilt and shame, or I didn't have to acknowledge how I really felt, because acknowledging how I really felt meant that I would need to come to terms with those feelings inside of me.
Mm.
And it could cause me to make some really hard decisions
Yeah. Yeah.
if I came to terms with that.
Yeah. Were you at the time thinking like, did you probably you didn't now these things, I assume you learned them later in life. Like at the time, if you do you remember, were you thinking that it was a food problem or were you blaming yourself that you didn't have willpower for that problem or overeating?
I blame myself because that
Mm,
was how I dealt with everything. I mean, I dealt with all of my problems in my life that way. I blame myself and I felt like it was a moral failing. And
mm,
it's funny, I didn't feel like it was a moral failing eating the chips.
mm,
I felt like it was a moral failing for the weight that I put on.
mm,
The fact that I couldn't get slim again, that it was an effort, like a monumental effort to lose
mm,
the weight, to every time I missed a workout, every time, I'd eat a brownie because I couldn't just eat a brownie, right? I eat the pan of brownies.
yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Oh yeah,
um,
absolutely.
I'd make a thing of brownies and I'd eat the whole thing of brownies.
Yeah.
And it really, I felt like it was a moral failing. And, we do that. This is what I've learned. And you're right. In the moment, as I was discovering those things, I didn't understand exactly what was really going on
Mm,
underneath. But I would, you get into a shame cycle
mm,
of you eat the food and then you feel really bad about yourself. And then you say, okay, well, I'm not going to eat the food anymore, or whatever. And then until the next time you feel overwhelmed, stressed, whatever, and then you eat the food and then you feel really bad about yourself. So you may
mm,
have a few weeks there where you're good, quote
mm,
unquote good, which, I've learned since I believe there's no good foods or bad foods really. Moderation is,
mm,
what makes you feel good, what's giving you energy kind of a thing. Um, so I felt so much shame and guilt about what I was doing and the pattern that I was in, and really that I couldn't lose. It was really all about the weight,
mm, mm,
because society puts so much
yeah,
pressure on how women's bodies look.
yeah,
And I found that very difficult.
yeah. And I believe like what I hear and see like that so many women they are really obsessed with the scale and that number. Usually it's coming from either you remember from your 20s or earlier in the life you weighed that amount and or you were fitting into that your favorite dress or pants what you still might have in your closet and then you have that obsession that you need to get back into that exact same number even though life your
Yeah.
situation is you are older your situation is totally different than it was in the past, but that is like I think you are definitely not alone with this cycle. But was there a moment, or when did you start to realizing that eating wasn't the real problem, but it was more like a signal?
Right. It was definitely a signal. I think, what's funny is that I don't even think that I wouldn't even have said that eating was my biggest problem. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It,
yeah.
it wasn't until I got down to some other layers that I was like, oh, and I'm also eating, I'm doing this to feel better too. I called myself, so just so you know, I went to other things in my life, right? We're
Mm,
not going well. The marriage was not going well. We had issues in our finances. We had issues. I was having so much overwhelm and just being a mother. And I didn't like the woman that I was presenting, or becoming, or
mm,
not really becoming, the version of myself that was showing up more often than not, was not somebody I was really proud of. if that makes sense. I didn't
Yeah.
really
No.
love her. And I don't mean in the physical sense. I mean
Yeah.
like in like how I dealt with my children, how I dealt with the people that were important to me in my life, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so I started really taking a very hard look at, you know, what was really going on with
Mm-hmm.
me. And so I started therapy,
Mm-hmm.
which was a very important journey for me. I did start therapy. I began kind of looking at my core relationships, understanding like where I fit into them, how I fit into them, what coping mechanisms that I had learned from my family of origin and from society and everything like that. Um, in this whole thing, in this whole process for me, I actually got sober because that was something that was important for me to
Mm-hmm.
do. And what I realized during that time that I was quitting alcohol, especially, was that I called myself not. I don't believe I was an addict, but I was an equal opportunity medicator. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, that's what I
Yeah.
called myself. Like I would drink enough until that got scary, and then I would eat a lot until that got scary, and then I would shop, and then I would watch TV, and I would just
Mm-hmm.
kind of go
Yeah.
through these agents
Crazy.
of
Yeah.
numbing myself so
Mm.
that I could check out and not feel my real feelings about
Mm.
things. And the the problem with that, of course, is that your feelings are not your enemy. Your feelings are uh, are a light post
Yeah.
into really connecting with yourself. And when you numb your feelings, first of all, you numb the bad feelings and the good feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of
Yeah.
walk around like in a zombie state a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also the feelings, if when the more you disconnect from your feelings, the more you disconnect from your true self.
Yeah. Yeah. And is this what you just said? What you would define self-abandonment, or would you add something else to?
I think it definitely, I mean, it has a lot to do with denying your feelings, but it also has to do with denying your needs and your wants.
Mm.
And at the core of it, I think it's really a value
Mm-hmm.
issue. Um, as women, sometimes society depends on your age. I feel like as societies, we change and morph and grow, but you know, a lot of times society doesn't value women outside of what they can do for men. A lot of times, your family doesn't value women or whatever, the people around you. And so I think that there's like a sometimes a global, depending upon, your situation, there's a global devaluation, and then also there could be a personal devaluation. And so you learn pretty early to tamp your needs, to make sure that, you're not creating a problem with having needs, wants, desires. And I think as women too, especially mothers, because your children, you have to put your children's needs
Mm-hmm.
first. I mean, that's just how
Absolutely.
it is if you have children, right? So that just kind of goes with it as a nurturer, but it doesn't mean that you abandon or ignore all of your needs, wants, and desires just because you're a
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
You may need to put them on the back burner for a season,
Mm-hmm.
or find another way to get those needs met. But I think that I really had a belief system that my needs weren't important
Mm.
and that they didn't really deserve to be met. And because of that, I intrinsically tied that to my self worth, that I wasn't important.
Mm.
Um, and so really that was really at the core of all of it.
Yeah. And why you think? Because I know you are not the only one. I know so many in my coaching, so many women. Uh, why you who are putting everyone else and they in front of themselves, and Why you think that so many women are good at taking care of everyone else, but struggle to take care of themselves?
Oh, isn't that a big question, right?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. And this is the absolute truth, which I will always tell. I will always speak my truth, and say this to my clients in a loving way. Part of it is conditioning, right? Of like we're kind of told, in order to be a good wife, mother, sister, blah, blah, daughter, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, you need to put everybody else ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learn that at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And unless our parents are extremely emotionally aware and don't have biases of their own, and whatever, which is people are people, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
your parents knew what they know because their parents knew, and you know
Mm-hmm.
what you know because of how you were raised. And so that is very normal. It's not a hit on parents or even society or whatever. But I got to tell you, sometimes as we grow up and we become, full functioning adult women, it's easier to put everybody else first because taking full responsibility for your own happiness and your
Mm-hmm.
own fulfillment feels very scary. It can feel
Yeah.
very, very scary.
It's really sad.
And and so that's really the crux of a lot of the work that I do and how to blow up
Mm-hmm.
your life. Um, it's understanding that you're the only one that's responsible for getting your needs met,
Mm-hmm.
for ensuring that you're living the life that you were meant to,
Mm-hmm.
and ensuring that you're doing the work that you were meant to do here on this earth. Nobody else can give that to you. Your
Yeah.
children cannot give that to you. Your parents cannot give that to you. Your husband cannot give that to you. Your friends, nobody. Nobody else is responsible for your happiness
Mm-hmm.
and to ensure that your needs are getting met. The people around you who love you should help you do that. Like if you express, hey, you know what, I'm really feeling this way and I really need this. Could you, help me in this way? Hopefully the people around you um, have enough emotional intelligence and
Mm-hmm.
care for you that they, will help you as much as they can, but they're not responsible for you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me, I had a victim mindset
Mm-hmm.
that and it was really rooted, I think, in codependency.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing, well, I'm doing all of this for you. So, you need to make sure that I'm okay, that I'm taken care of. And of course, nobody else is because it's not their job to. It was my job to understand, first of all, how I was feeling, right? And
Yeah.
give me that flashlight into what was going on, because that's what feelings are. They're a flashlight into the cave of like, all right, what's going on here? Um, but to understand how I was feeling, to understand what my needs were, and to create my life, so
Mm-hmm.
that those things were happening for me, or that I was making those things happen for me. And I came up with a framework during this time of my life. I call it. I have a book coming out the beginning of
Nice.
next year, and it's it's a framework. I call it creative destruction, which
Mm-hmm.
is like it's about dismantling, what's not working in your life so that you can build something that will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically made up of three questions. And they're questions that I began asking myself during the pantry days of me standing in the pantry with the chips, right? When I found myself doing that, and I started connecting the dots that when I was having this behavior, that it was really, there was something bigger going on. I would start asking the questions: how do I feel? What do I need? And who do I want to be in this moment?
Mm-hmm. Those are
And when
powerful
I first
questions.
started, it would sometimes take me a week of journaling to understand anything about those three. I mean, even this, the basics of how I was
Mm-hmm.
feeling. As time went on, I could do it in the moment while I was like packing lunches and whatnot. But it really helped me get to the bottom of, and I was trying to keep it very simple of like, okay, how do I feel? Okay, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling angry, overwhelmed, stressed out, pissed off, whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what do I need? Do I need a break? Do I need some sleep? Do I need to eat protein? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of, these carbs? Have I really eaten today at all? Right. Cause I would skip the whole day of eating. And then that's another thing that I would do with this unhealthy pattern is just eat junk food at night. Um, and then who do I want to be in this moment? Right. Do I want to be the woman standing in the pantry eating chips? Like if that does not feel very healthy to me, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, and so if I'm not the woman that I want to be, then who do I want to be? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are very good questions to ask yourself. You mentioned earlier about that people pleasing and health habits, and those. Uh, how how does people pleasing affect food, movement, and self care?
I think it all ties back to kind of what we've been discussing. People pleasing is such a core component to codependency because you're essentially, in which most of my work is centered around healing from codependency. And so, okay, we're going to get a little deep here. So, when you are people pleasing, it basically means I'm going to do the thing that you need me to do to be okay
Mm.
so that you want to stay in relationship with me.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it's it's almost like I'm so afraid that I'm going to lose you,
Yeah.
that I'm going to lose myself so that you'll be happy and that you'll want to stay
With
in
me. Yeah.
connection with me.
Yeah. And
And when you live your life like that, hell yeah, you're going to reach for the chip bag. Like
mhm.
because your whole framework for living is denying your own self
Yeah. Yeah.
to ensure that people want to stay in connection with you.
Could it like it comes to my mind that could that kind of moments usually they come from somewhere from when you have been very young. Maybe you have lost your best friend or some important person for your life. If you were, who knows, maybe you have been 5, 6 years old and
Mhm.
you were not doing exactly the thing what your, let's say, your best friend asked you to do. And after that, uh, she have said that she don't want to be with you anymore. And that could be the reason that you are behaving this way the rest of your life.
Yes. All of this stuff comes from, I'm your fundamental years. I'm trained
Yeah.
in the coaching model called the adult chair. And if you it's based on the therapy modality of like you have three
Mm,
chairs. You have your child chair, your adolescent chair,
mm,
and your adult chair. And your kind of fully actualized highest self is kind of what the adult chair would be.
mm,
And then you have your adolescent self, which is kind of the rebel a little bit. The adolescent puts up walls, defenses, and then you have your child, your inner, which a lot of people call your inner child, and it's the source of your joy and your creativity and the connection and all of those. You think about just a joyful child,
mm,
right? Like that's your inner child, and really, a lot of your happiness comes from that place, right? So
mm.
because you're so like, you're just full of abandon and wonder and, like I said, creativity. And it's just, it's childhood should be just this wonderful time, right? But guess what? We're humans living in this imperfect place, in this imperfect world. And what happens is, like you said, something in childhood, and that is usually from like 0 to 7. The model that I'm trained in. It's like from 0 to 7,
Mm-hmm.
something has happened. I don't. It could be. I mean, I have things with my own children where my youngest daughter um, has an abandonment issue because one time she ran up to me and I was like probably cooking dinner or doing the dishes or something. I was doing something. I was trying to get dinner on the table, or the things that moms do.
Mm-hmm.
And she needed me. And I picked her up and I like kissed her on the forehead and put her in the playpen.
Mm-hmm.
And she feels so abandoned by that, right?
Oh.
Like, but that I didn't do anything wrong,
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. It's not like your parents, sometimes sometimes big things happen. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Sometimes things happen, divorces happen, parents walk out. There are all kinds of things that happen
Mm-hmm.
or, there's abuse that happens, or it could be the genesis of how you're feeling, when we're talking about people pleasing and connection. The genesis could be something, terrible that happened in your childhood,
Yeah.
but it also could be something very innocuous
Yeah.
that, like my daughter, that we had to have therapy over this moment. The therapist said, could that have happened? I said, heck yeah, it could have happened. Like, I had 3 little kids, like in
Yeah.
diapers. Like, it
Yeah.
probably happened every day,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it just happened to be that one time that she
Right.
really needed me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't be there for her because I was busy
With the
cooking the
other two
roast or
or
whatever I was
yeah.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to really work through that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I guess, sometimes people are afraid to look at the stuff from their childhood because they're like, oh, I don't want to betray my parents, or I don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
think badly, or I don't want, whatever. And it's really not about that, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
about, what did you need
Yeah.
that you didn't get?
Yeah.
And how can you then give that to your inner child so
Mm-hmm.
that you can move on
Mm-hmm.
and stop these behaviors in adulthood?
Yeah.
A lot of the work that I do with my clients centers around
Oh,
just
nice.
sifting through that
That's
kind of
so
stuff.
important. Why you then think that it's so hard for so many women to say that that is now my walk, my workout, my meal, or my rest also matter?
I think, I think we're taught that that's selfish,
Mm-hmm.
and that, the worst thing you can be as a mother, as a wife, as a whatever, is selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then also it goes back to that personal responsibility piece too. So you've got like a little dual edge
Mm-hmm.
here of reconditioning yourself that it's okay to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay. And that takes some reprogramming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it's also, and I'm going to show up for myself because I'm important. So it's a
Yeah.
worthiness issue, and it's a self-responsibility issue.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that is, I think, great advice for someone, some woman who feels selfish for taking time for
Mhm.
herself.
Yeah. And it really is imperative.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so you hear the cliche of like, put your own oxygen mask on or what have you. And I've heard that for years, and it gets old. But it is true. I mean, it's cliche for a reason. Um, it is true because if you're not, I think this is what we miss as women, especially. So that, every one of us is here on this earth for a distinct purpose. That's what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
To bring your fullness on, onto this earth. And if you're not operating in your full and complete self, you're really robbing the world and you're robbing the people around you
Mm.
because they're not experiencing the best you.
Mm.
And so if you think about it that way, right? And how are you going to become the best you, right? You're going to do your emotional work. That's the best
Mm.
thing you can get for your kids. I say that to the moms, all the moms out there who might be experiencing this or feeling this way. You know, the best thing that you can ever do for your kids is get emotionally healthy.
Mm.
I can't think of anything better. So do your personal work, right? And 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 take care of yourself. Model to your children what that looks like, what that looks like
Mm.
emotionally, what that looks like physically,
Mm.
what that looks like in relationships, right? What it looks like in work. Like be able to model to them because that's how they're going to learn. They're
Mm.
not going to learn by what you tell them. They learn by what you
Yeah.
show them,
Yeah.
you know?
That's
And
so well.
so, yeah, it's just so important. But really, when you're not doing these things to step into your fullness, then you're really robbing everyone around you
Mm.
of the very essence that you came here to create and provide.
Mm. Yeah, that's we are. This is all what I have been thinking. Like me, we are expecting our first baby to born in when we are recording this. It's 1 month from now.
Oh,
So once this episode is out, we are pretty close already. If he's not already here, but this is exactly what I've been thinking. Like that, you can talk whatever you want. Of course, it might help, but the best way is always with your own example. And you said it so well with connecting all the dots, modeling with your emotional health, your habits, your behaviors, and then if you tell to your kid, for example, that breakfast is important, but you are skipping breakfast yourself.
that's right.
What is that your children, is he going to believe what you say or copy what you are actually doing? So I think there is that being a model with your actions, it's more valuable than actually the words what you use.
That is very true. I can say
So
my youngest child is now like 22. So I've been
mhm,
through the whole thing. And
yeah.
it's true. They definitely pick up on what you do. It's all the unsaid, unheard background,
Mhm,
subconscious stuff that's the stuff that gets them talking all the time. Like
mhm,
like
mhm.
you said that, but I what you said and what you did was different, mom. I I
Yeah,
get that. And they're astute and they're allowed to, say
yeah,
those things to me. So
yeah. Let's get back to your story.
yeah.
What was the turning point for you?
Mm. So my turning point is something I call my garage door moment, actually. And it's silly, but normal. So normal. It was about the same time as the hand in the pantry. It was all around the same time.
Mhm,
My kids were very little. When you have like three kids under, I don't remember how. I mean, they were all in elementary school. I know that.
mhm,
So maybe one was in the fourth grade, one was in probably the second grade, and one may have been in kindergarten. It may have been even younger than that. Getting out of the house in the morning is a feat in and of itself.
mhm,
Like it's really tough. So on this particular morning, I gotten everybody together. Nobody had thrown up. Everyone could find their shoes. It's like, oh, like the stars were
mhm,
aligning. And I got in. I think we were driving a minivan at that time. I got into my minivan and I pulled out of the garage and I hit the button to close the garage door and it wouldn't close. And then it wouldn't close. I'm like pounding the garage door button. It's not closing. And I lost it. Like
mhm,
complete, full on adult temper tantrum, lost it. And like I'm stomping around, I'm getting out of the car, I'm like slamming the doors, I'm like trying to get it closed from the inside and da, da, da. So you get the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes back to like, my husband at the time had told me he'd fixed it and he hadn't fixed it. And so I was mad at him. And, it's just this whole thing. And I get back in the car and I look in the rearview mirror and my three kids are like, one of them's like looking down, one of them staring out the window. And, they kind of don't want to look at me, or
Mm-hmm.
they're just kind of like there. And I realized like, all right, my kids have just watched their mother become unhinged, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really supposed to be the primary source of safety in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that what I just did there did not provide that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but I have a feeling this isn't the first time I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of had like this aha moment at that point, right? Of, if is this really the woman I want to be? Is this really the mother I want to be? And the answer, of course, was no. And pulling that thread led me to a complete shift in almost everything I thought, I believed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
really, it pulled the thread on everything up until that point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
thus the catalyst for blow up your life. Um, but in really a good way, because in doing the work and understanding, I then took the work that I was doing, and I could apply it to every aspect of my life, of my physical fitness, of eating, of how I related to people, of boundaries, of how I related to my children, of and the enabling that I was doing for everybody else in my life. And it changed everything. It
Mm-hmm.
changed everything. And I found myself. And I can tell you, so much healthier
Yeah.
in all the ways, in all of the ways. And it was a true turning point.
What, because this is always a question, like if somebody who is listening is not from sure, there's nobody exactly the same situation with the garage door, but who recognize themselves and they're thinking that what should I change first? Like, did you change first your food, movement, or the way you saw yourself?
Hmm. What should I change first? You know, honestly, I would encourage, if one of my clients came to me and said, "What should I change first?" I would encourage them to get in touch with their feelings, emotions, and therefore intuition. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes and get comfortable doing it differently. Does that
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Because some days you need to focus on your nutrition. Some
Hmm.
days you need to focus on exploring your feelings every day or week. I'm not going to say day just because it's a way to qualify it, quantify it, but the emphasis of focus might need to be different depending
Hmm.
upon what's happening inside of you, the processes, the synapses, the neuroplasticity that's going on in your brain, the way that you're relating to people. Those things can change. And what I found is learning to trust myself is the most important thing
Hmm.
that I have found in this process, because that voice that comes in of like, um, Sarah, watch your nutrition, like that. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I wasn't eating well. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? You're right. Like, oh, I have been, I don't feel that good, but we've eaten out the last 5 days. I hadn't even thought about it really. We've been so busy. You know, it's just the taking time to be with yourself so that your intuition can kind of guide you a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
the best next step to take. Because sometimes, especially if you're going through a big change or if you are starting, it can feel overwhelming. And putting one foot in front of the next is sometimes all you can really do. And so I feel like if you can get in touch with yourself and learn what that, it's not the still small voice, it's the stiller smaller voice underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
Learn who she is and learn how to find her, listen to her, trust her. The rest is going to fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
Because she'll tell you what you need to eat, or she'll tell you what you need. Like she'll let you know what needs
Yeah,
to happen, and that's you. That's your inner wisdom.
it's very wise words. So you mentioned earlier that you were the person who was obsessed with the scale, and
Oh yeah,
you lost 52 pounds over about 18 months.
probably. Yeah.
How did that happen without making it only about the number on the scale?
hmm Okay. So I did. When you want to lose weight, you do have to make some choices and decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
it looked like a few things because it's never just one solution, as you know. It's usually a
Mm-hmm.
combination um, of things. So a few things happened. The first thing that I did, and is I joined a structured program for weight loss where it just helps you. And what I found is that I tried not to be like super rigid with it. What I wanted to do is what I realized is I'd become so unaware of what was going in my mouth, so
Mm-hmm.
unaware that it was, I didn't, I had kind of lost basic education
Mm-hmm.
of like, okay, so if I'm hungry and I need a snack, maybe not the chips, maybe a slice of turkey, so like
Mm-hmm.
it's, I didn't have tools anymore. Or I don't know, I just hadn't exercised that muscle. It wasn't like I wasn't educated in nutrition. It just, I had not used it in a long time. And so that system helped me kind of just put numbers around like, all right, let's figure out what's the daily consumption looking
Mm-hmm.
like, really.
Yeah.
Oh, too many points here, too much. Okay. Or the wrong kinds of points or whatever. So that really did help. Another thing that helped is move every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a move every day plan for myself. And at first, that just looked like getting outside every day
Mm-hmm.
and like walking around or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, here's the deal, I had like grown up in sports. So it's not like I didn't understand, you know,
Mm-hmm.
training or whatever. I was a competitive swimmer growing up. And so that's heavy, heavy, heavy into training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that I didn't have a knowledge of what a good workout was or whatever. So it started with just a walk. Like it was like first it was like do something every day. And then that turned into I realized I needed to get outside every day
Mm-hmm.
and do
Mm-hmm.
something. So that turned
That's
into a
huge.
walk. And then that turned into what I call my like a walk run,
Mm-hmm.
or I called it, what did I call it? I called it um, um, extreme interval training or the lazy man's run. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I could, like, I
Mm-hmm.
would call it that. So I'd like,
Yeah.
first I like walk a block, run a block, walk a
Yeah.
block, run
Yeah.
a block. And then the next thing you know, I was
Wow.
doing like 5Ks almost every day.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And sometimes I would walk it. Like I wasn't too, like, it was just more about trying to get something done every day.
Mm-hmm.
even if that was stretching, whatever it was. Like, so I would use my intuition to be like, all right, Sarah. And then and then I added some push-ups and some sit-ups. And so I added some
Mm,
like just little things, some squats, little things that I could do. And then, once I kind of got that down, um, then I joined a gym, which I didn't want to
mm,
join. And my mom was like, "Oh, you should join this gym. I love it." And I was like, "The gym's not for me," whatever. But then I turned out I just loved it because it was kind of group training, and you
mm,
could pop in. They had a 30-minute workout. They called it the board workout. It was a 30-minute workout. And of course, I didn't do that every day, but I added strength to it. Basically, is what I'm
mm,
saying, like more intensified strength. And so I would do that like 3 times a week or 4 times a week. And then I would, you know, integrate the other move every day, like just stretching the other days or whatever. That helped a lot. And then, I had some friends that were kind of on the same journey. I feel like community is so important.
oh yeah.
And so we would go to dinner and we would split an entree. Like
Mm,
we just knew that's what we were going to do. Like, so just being more aware and adding movement, it
yeah,
wasn't hard. Like, it wasn't like I was white knuckling it. Like, and if I wanted a brownie, I would eat a brownie and I wouldn't
yeah,
worry about it. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
but I wouldn't eat the pan
yeah.
either. Right. So you have the emotional component. And then, I did need some guardrails there in terms of
Mm,
figuring out what my consumption was going to look like. And
mm,
that was only temporary. I didn't do it forever. I just until I understood, like, okay, this is what full feels like. This is all right. Here are some healthier choices you can do for yourself.
mm,
And then getting a little bit of community around it too helped a lot.
yeah. And what, because I'm sure at some point progress was slowing down or feeling that it was
Mm.
too slow. What helped you keep going on those times?
You know, I tried to make the satisfaction not a I tried to remove the satisfaction component from the scale
Mm,
to what I had control over. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
that's
Like
so good.
the showing up,
Yeah.
the um I would get to the gym and let's say I didn't have 30 minutes for the workout. Let's say I had, sometimes my trainer would kind of get on me because he was like a huge, like, he trains like professional athletes. So I get it, but
Mm,
I'm not a professional athlete. So, I would show up late for the class,
mm-hmm.
and he'd be like, "You're 30 minutes late." I'm like, "But I am here. I am
Yeah.
here and I'm doing 20 minutes. That's what I'm doing." So,
Yeah.
be happy. I'm happy.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy I'm here.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's all what all trainers should be like you were at the time, not
yes.
blaming for someone who is 30 minutes late. Like, this is at least it's coming probably like what you had in the past if you were at like training as a professional athlete or very high level of athlete and many trainers are in this skill that if you don't get in your 1 hour workout how you
Yeah.
think your clients like you in this point you have 3 kids to take care and you are making time you are in stuck probably in a traffic and you still make it and what you get if you get the answer like somebody else probably at this situation so huge that they would say that you know what I can also quit it. But huge compliments for you that you were the one who said those words that
Hmm.
I'm still here because it's not always about the perfect workouts. What matters, in my opinion, more is actually showing up and being consistent and
Mm.
following through those actions and promises what you make to yourself. So if you promised you talk to yourself that you are going to the gym doesn't matter even if you go there knock the door and go away you still showed up and it's not
Hmm.
about getting that 1 hour perfect workout in.
Right. So the satisfaction component for me
Yeah.
was the showing up.
Yeah, awesome.
And
That's so
so
amazing.
I stopped, and once I stopped focusing on the scale, it got so much easier,
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
because there wasn't a disappointment when I stepped on and it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Because as women, my God, and I was going through perimenopause at the time, like your water weight, I mean, you can go up and down, and I mean,
Mm,
it can get depressing,
yeah.
and so you could work so hard and maybe you're building muscle and so you're retaining water, and I don't know. This I won when I showed up. That's
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
how I got through the plateaus.
That's so well and so well said, and huge congratulations. You are living proof that showing up is really, really valuable and gets rid of that all or nothing mindset. What probably most of
Yeah.
us have went through at least at some point in their life.
And I still struggle with it.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, that's a
absolutely. It's not.
mindset that
Yeah,
it's very easy to fall back into,
yeah.
very easy. And so, God, just letting go the reins a little bit and just be like,
Mm,
where's my point going to be? Where's the yay me point going to be?
mm, yeah,
What should that look like?
yeah.
And removing it from some sort of like, uh, y- you know, removing it from perfect diet, perfect workout, perfect whatever. And just
Mm,
like, my next choice. Okay. So you know, I ate something I wish I hadn't eaten. All right. The next choice is going to be different. Don't worry
mm,
about like all next week. I'm not going to eat anything. That's too much. That's
yeah.
too much. Like my next choice is
It's
going to
what. Yeah.
be a little bit high protein or more fiber or whatever,
Mm,
less sugar. Keep it simple.
yeah. That's very good advice. So time is flying. Oh my God, I
Oh
would
yeah.
love to ask you so many questions, go deeper on topics, but trying to keep this short. I don't want to steal your whole day. Just a few closing quick questions. So what would you say to a woman who feels like she has lost herself?
Mm, I would say that you're still in there.
Mm,
You really are. And it won't take long to uncover her.
yeah.
Sometimes you might need a little help, and there's nothing wrong with help, but she's still in there.
Mm. Then what would you say to someone who keeps eating at night and thinks she just has no discipline?
Mm. I would say, you know, you, first of all, I would say it's okay. Like,
Mm,
don't beat yourself up. And let's talk a little bit about what's happening inside
mm,
when that's going on.
that's very.
Like, you're not a terrible person for standing in the pantry in the middle of the night with your hand in the chip bag. You're just not,
Mm,
right? This is a normal reaction to feelings that are hard.
mm. So where can people learn more about your work?
Oh yeah. So you can find me. My website is sarastansberry.com. And I write a weekly Substack, and you can find me on Substack and at sarastansberry.substack.com. And then I'm on all the social media channels: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook,
Mm.
Pinterest, at Sara Stansberry.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really enjoyed this conversation. I will put those all links to show notes. So make sure to check out, connect with her. And because I think her story, her knowledge, you heard everything in this podcast. So thank you so much for listening. And remember, leave those 5-star reviews. They are helping so much that more people are finding this podcast. So thank you so much again for listening. Thank you, Sarah, and talk to you in the next episode.
All right. Thank you so much, Turo. It's a pleasure.
Before you go, if you are tired of starting over every Monday, I want to invite you to check out the Consistency Reset. It's my new personalized coaching app for women 35 to 55 who want sustainable fat loss, simple workouts, practical nutrition habits, and support for real life. You will get daily actions, realistic workouts, and reset tools to help you keep going without guilt or perfection. You can take the quiz and build your personalized plan through the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.